Okay, so again, welcome, and I maybe begin by just introducing myself, and then I'll pass over to each of my colleagues here to introduce themselves. So my name is Brendan O'Connell, and I'm the Head of Faculty of Engineering and Science on the Cork campus. Bridget, do you want to?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Bridget Lucy. I'm Head of Biological Sciences on the Bishopstown campus of MTU.
Hi folks, my name's Anne O'Brien and I'm a lecturer in computing on the Kerry campus.
Hi folks, I'm Rob.
Okay,
Fiona or me, sir.
Hello, my name is Fiona Flynn. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Head of Department for the International Medical Commencement Programme, and I'm here tonight to answer queries in relation to our new programme, the BSc Honours in Digital Health and Informatics for Healthcare, MT815.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ted Scully. I'm the head of the Department of Computer Science at the Bishopstown campus, and I can answer any questions in relation to our programs, our undergraduate programs, the BSc in Software Development, the BSc in Computer Systems, or the BSc in IT Management and Cybersecurity.
So good evening, everybody. My name is Alish Bradrick, and I'm the Head of Department of the Department of Biological and Pharmaceutical Sciences here at the Kerry campus. And the programmes that I can answer questions on this evening are our Bachelor of Science in Veterinary Nursing, Veterinary Bioscience, Wildlife Biology, Agricultural Science, Pharmaceutical Science, and a Pharmacy Technician. So any of those programmes, I'm happy to answer your queries on them this evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Donal O'Mahony. I'm the Head of Department of Physical Sciences on the Bishopstown campus, and I'd be happy to answer any questions in relation to our undergraduate CAO programs in the areas of analytical and pharmaceutical chemistry, analytical chemistry with quality assurance, applied physics and instrumentation, instrument engineering, and the Bachelor in Science in Environmental Science and Sustainable Technology.
So I can start off by taking the initial question that came through there. So the question is, I'm looking for some information on the cybersecurity course. Could you tell me what types of coding there will be and how much of the course would be coding? Is this the first year of the course? So just to take that, we have 3 undergraduate programs in the Department of Computer Science. That is, we have software development, we have computer systems, and we have the course you referenced here, which is the BSc in IT Management and Cybersecurity. This course has been running for a number of years now, but in recognition of the amount of cybersecurity content in the course, this is the first year that we've changed the name of the course. And actually, this was kind of recommended by industry partners in recognition of the amount of cybersecurity content that we cover inside in that course. So the BSc in IT Management and Cybersecurity is less focused on programming than the other 2 programs. So the core focus of IT Management and Cybersecurity is more on the design, deployment, maintenance, and ensuring the security of computer systems. And cybersecurity is a very, very important component of that. So we have across our 3 programs, we have a common first year, so everybody does the same fundamental modules, and those would include introductory kind of programming, fundamentals of programming using Python. But after that, effectively the programs branch, and the IT management program is less focused on programming and more focused on issues of kind of maintenance, deployment, and ensuring the security of the systems that are deployed.
I can try to answer. There's a question there which is asking with regard to the following courses, level 7 MT 782 and level 8 MT 833, I think that is. Explain the difference. Now I suppose I'm just a little bit surprised. I think there's possibly two different questions there. One is 782 is the Applied Physics and Instrumentation course, and 883 is the instrument engineering course. So I'm just a little bit surprised by the question around chemistry, because these courses would be very much focused on the applied physics stream. But if we just want to deal with 782 and 833, applied physics and instrumentation is a level 7 entry designed or developed with the aim of developing graduates in the area of instrumentation, so instrumentation technicians, and those who want to go on and use applied physics in a wide range of industry settings primarily. And then the level 8 course offers an extra year. It's an ab initio entry into the level 8 program, whereas the level 7 offering gives you that option to step off at level 7 after year 3. But the course content is quite similar. The graduates tend to end up in similar roles in industry, where they're supporting manufacturing and process teams to ensure the process instrumentation, the analytical instrumentation that they're using in their processes meets a certain regulatory standard. So maybe whoever put that question regarding the chemistry, they just clarify the question around the requirement for chemistry.
Hello, I can answer the question on, can you give an outline on the new course in digital health and informatics for healthcare? This is a new course. It's the only level 8 honours degree course in this specific area in Ireland. The programme was developed in collaboration with the HSE, the Bond Secure Health System, and a number of health tech companies. The structure of the programme, 3 years on campus, and then the final year is in work placement. While students are on campus, modules are divided into 3 pillars: bioscience, health science, and data science. Graduates of the programme would work in a number of different areas. They would support professional teams designing medical devices and health apps, particularly where that device or health app would interface with a healthcare professional or the patient. They would also be involved in evaluating medical devices and health apps to see if they're fit for purpose. They would be involved in implementation and training the use of the device and the app, training healthcare professions and also patients. And also there's quite a large area in health informatics. And health informatics, I suppose, looks at how health data is collected, captured, stored, managed, organized, and most importantly, secured. So they would be the main areas where graduates would work. It's a really good program. It's very innovative, and it's going to give graduates the skills to work in new roles in the digital health transformation.
I'll take the next question then, which is, how is biomedical science split between MTU and UCC? As you probably know, it's a joint programme from start to finish between MTU and UCC. So traditionally, I suppose UCC and MTU would each take half of the modules for the degree, and those modules are available to view even if you were to Google at the BSc Honours in Biomedical Science. It'll give you an idea of what all the modules have in them. So what often happens then is that students would come to MTU one day, they might go to UCC another day. Very often the lecturers will travel to the other campus than the one that they're employed in, I suppose, to deliver lectures if that makes it more streamlined process. It's not something that students ever really get excited about. It seems to work very well. I suppose you have also got the benefits of being able to play sports for either or both universities. You're able to join any club or society that you want to join as well. You have all the other ancillary services then as well for both campuses. So it doesn't tend to be a challenge for students. Then outside of a hospital, the next part of your question, outside of a hospital environment, are there other employment options open to graduates of biomedical science? There are indeed. What we usually find is at least 70% of our graduates will want to work as medical scientists. We probably have up to 10% of our graduates join graduate entry medicine, so that's another 10%. About 10% of our graduates will go into research. But you can do say, for example, a PhD while you're working as a medical scientist. You can do research part-time if you wish, or you can do research full-time for a PhD. And about 10%, I suppose, of our students will do something like that. With the remaining 10%, then there's a variety of jobs that people do. I suppose I know your question is outside of the hospital environment, but my old boss, I suppose, when I worked in the hospital myself, was he became the overall laboratory manager, and then became the operations manager for CUH. I suppose there is always pharmaceutical, biotechnology end of things for graduates in the Cork region, certainly, because there are a wide variety of jobs in the pharma industry as well, and a number of our graduates have taken up those. In other ways, then we have somebody who's an editor of a journal, of a science journal in the UK, for example. We have postdoctoral researchers who have ended up in somewhere like Harvard or somewhere like that. We also have people like me, for example, who started out as a medical scientist, took a year off to work as a researcher as well, and then did a PhD part-time, and eventually ended up as a lecturer in MTU. Now I'm head of department, so I suppose it's probably a good example of a variety of jobs that a person can do with a primary qualification in biomedical science. Just I've probably gone on too long with this question, so apologies everybody.
Okay, I can come in next. So, Bridget, and I will answer the question first from Shauna. Can I get into veterinary medicine in Ireland through the veterinary bioscience course? Shauna, the veterinary course in Ireland in UCD, there is graduate entry to that. There's a limited number of places available on that. The veterinary bioscience course would be the same as other undergraduate degree courses in obtaining the access to that. So you wouldn't get any additional advantage by having done the veterinary bioscience course for graduate entry to that program. We do have an arrangement with the University of Koszk in Slovakia for their veterinary medicine course, and the graduates of our veterinary bioscience course get exemptions from a number of the modules in first year if they go on to study veterinary in that university. So I hope that answers your question. Next, I'll take the question on wildlife biology. You'd like more information about the breadth of field trips on the BSc in wildlife biology and the cost, and do we have to drive to the field trips? So you don't drive to the field trips. We organise buses to all the field trips. The wildlife biology students go on field trips every Thursday. The field trips are amazing and varied. So the Killarney National Park, the Burn, Botanical Gardens, coastal field trips to Feenit and Ballyhaig, some of the areas around here, and then to a lot of the walks and higher upland areas that are in Kerry as well. So the field trips are an extremely important part of the course. The students, as I say, are out every Thursday. So it's very important to note that they're out every Thursday regardless of the weather. So it's quite a physically intensive course, and you are needed to be able to, trek up the side of a mountain on a wet Thursday morning. And we cover the costs of all the field trips. We organise buses that leave the campus and come back to the campus, and the lecturers attend on the buses with the students as well. Also, there's a question on, can you outline the areas where wildlife biology, where you would work afterwards? So the graduates of the wildlife biology, as you can imagine, are extremely sought after at the moment. A lot of students go into consultancy, working, developing plans, doing up environmental impact assessments. Outside of consultancy, many large companies now have their own people working in the wildlife area, working in conservation, sustainability with them. So the students go there. There's a number of postgraduate opportunities available to students as well. And we actually in the department are launching our first master's in ecological conservation, which will be a part-time online master's, which will be starting next year as well. So at the moment, most wildlife biology students complete, they all complete a work placement in third year, and most of them are brought back to that work placement after they graduate. But all students from the wildlife biology program find it very easy to get full-time work after getting the degree.
Yes, there's a question there in relation to the digital health and informatics for healthcare. What does the course entail and job opportunities? I've previously covered what the course entails when I answered a question there before. But in relation to job opportunities, I suppose there's over 200 digital health companies in Ireland, and 35 of those digital health companies are located here in the southwest, in addition to the HSC hospitals and the private hospitals as well. So graduates of the programme would be employed across both the public and the private sector, including private hospital groups, the HSC, and pharma and medical technology companies.
I might take the next one about the best place to apply for accommodation if you do a joint program between MTU and UCC. Very often people will use, if they're using a bus, we'll say they use the number 205, for example, which travels between the two campuses. And I suppose if you go on a bus route like the 208 or the 205 or the 219, for example, then you probably can, if you can find suitable accommodation, any of those areas would be quite accessible, I suppose, from the two campuses.
I can jump into, there's a question there regarding what is studied in environmental science and sustainable technology. So this flavor of environmental science is very much measurement focused. So it's all about the tools, the equipment, the hardware, and the analytical software that is used to analyze the environment around us. So it's quite a lab intensive program. Students tend to be very strong on the hardware that's used to measure water quality or analyze air quality. So the graduates from the program tends to stand out in terms of their lab-based skills as an environmental science graduate. So, for example, Irish Water or the EPA would have an interest in graduates from that program because of the heavy technical and instrumentation focus of the program.
Then I'd say you may have jumped ahead there with that question. I think there's a question there for you next on the difference between analytical chemistry and chemical engineering.
Okay, yeah, very good, Brendan. So if you think of chemical production as a process, chemical engineers tend to be at the start of the process, and analytical chemists tend to be at the end of the process. So analytical chemists tend to analyze the product that's produced in a chemical process. So whether that's a pharmaceutical product or a food product, the analytical chemists tend to be at the end of the process where they're analyzing the product and they're ensuring that it's safe for human consumption. So we deliver the analytical chemistry course. The chemical engineering course is delivered by the Department of Process, Energy and Transport. And the analytical chemists tend to be very strong in their lab skills. So both the wet chemistry lab skills, but also the analytical use of analytical tools, whether that's spectroscopy or chromatography, for example. So it's quite a different role. As I say, a chemical engineer will be very much involved in producing the product, whereas the analytical chemist will be very much involved in analyzing the product to make sure it's safe for consumption.
Will I jump in about the nutrition and health science program next, maybe, Brendan? There's a question there that says, is there much biotechnology, or is it mainly focused on the health and human nutrition side of this area? As I know, it says both online. There are aspects of biotechnology to the nutrition and health science program for certain. There are also, I suppose, there are a couple of elective options along the way. Where you can elect to take biotechnology lectures or modules, as well as the more nutrition and health science focused modules. But I suppose one thing to point out about the nutrition and health science program is that it is accredited with the Association for Nutrition in the UK, and increasingly it's important for our graduates to have an accredited program level 8 degree in order to take up a post, for example, as a nutritionist with the HSE or something like that, where only accredited programs are allowed or qualify the graduates to apply for such jobs. And I understand that this is becoming more the case. So for that reason, there is a very prescribed nutrition and health science aspect to the program, and I suppose it's such a huge area as well, and developing area, that most of that degree will have to be based in the area of nutrition and health science. I hope that helps a little bit.
Next one's on agri-bioscience. That's great.
That's right. Now, there is another question beforehand about when would I know when am I accepted or not into the programs? I don't know, Brendan, whether you'd prefer to take that one. I think you're muted.
Sorry, Bridget. Yeah, so generally the CAO offers come out in late August, early September. So at that point, you would know, unless it's a second round or third round offer when it becomes later in September. And again, the accommodation depends upon the campus and also the stage. Obviously, the earlier the better. So I might pass to you after that, Bridget, for the agri-bioscience.
Sure. This is a very good question about the agri-biosciences, because it's a very good opportunity to say that there are two different programs in MTU. One of them in our department, which is BSc Honours in Agri-Biosciences, and it is just necessary to know that it is different from the BSc Honours in Agriculture and Business, which is also in MTU. In our case, with the Agri-Biosciences degree, there's a certain amount of again, biotechnology involved in it, but the fundamental premise, I suppose, is because we have such an agrarian and animal breeding sort of a focus, I suppose, within our economy, that essentially you train to become a scientist who can either work in the agri-diagnostics area, can do research in this area, can do quite a lot of specialization in genetics, because a lot of animal breeding now, most animal breeding, I suppose, when it comes to cattle, for example, would be not left to chance, because there is selective breeding programs to have the very best I suppose, animals bred in Ireland. So for that reason, we're preparing for those areas as well, where particular where genetics would be important. As well as that, it's probably quite important to point out that quite a number of our agri-biosciences graduates have ended up in the pharma industry because they opted to do that. There are plenty of agri-based jobs for our graduates. However, the other thing to point out is that this BSc uniquely within our suite of programs prepares you to become a secondary teacher in the area of ag science as well as biology to Leaving Cert. The degree is prepares you to, or entitled you, enables you to do the professional masters in education if you choose to become a secondary teacher as well. And you have two honour subjects that you can teach then to Leaving Cert as well. So it's quite important. It's quite a broad degree, but it's got very good potential for research out of it as well. Thank you.
I see a question there on physical education studies with biology. Eilish, do you want to comment on that? Is there a potential for a program in that space?
Yeah, so the PE with biology as opposed to business, that is something that's currently being looked at. So on CAO, it's currently PE with options. So the team are working to have PE with biology available as well. So that'll be notified. And feel free to contact the Health and Leisure Department if you are very interested in doing that. But they are working to have that option available for entry in September as well. So that's correct.
Thanks, Eilish. I'm just looking at the volume of questions coming in there, and I wonder maybe if the panel members could track some of the questions, maybe answer them by typing an answer as well, because we may not get to all the questions live before 15:15. So if we maybe move to the next question there, and I think, Bridget, is there a way to get into biomedical science without chemistry for Leaving Cert?
Yeah, yes, there is. Yes, my understanding, unless I'm wrong, Brendan, because we've got many students who don't have chemistry to Leaving Cert. I suppose it's worth pointing out that for all of our undergraduate programs, in first year we give you a taste of the specialty that you've elected to study at a third level. We also bring everybody to the same level at the end of first year, hopefully, or we expose them to the same amount of information for chemistry, physics, maths, and biology, as well as giving you that taste of, we'd say in this case, biomedical science subjects as well. So yes, of course you can. You might have to work a little bit harder in first year than somebody who had chemistry, but it doesn't seem to be a stumbling block for people at all. So I wouldn't get overly excited about not having chemistry and still pursuing biomedical science at third level.
Thanks for that. And then the next question there, interested in computer science and instrumentation. Anne or Ted, do you want to come in there?
Brendan, I can jump in just very briefly on the instrumentation side. I was just starting to type an answer there. So, and again, Ted or Anne would be able to give more detail on the computer science side, but generally speaking, instrumentation would have very much more a focus on measurement and controlling a process using scientific instruments as a way of taking a measurement and giving you some information that you can then use to control the process. While there would be an element of programming in it, or students would do a little bit, it's very much focused on programming for taking measurements or controlling systems that might be in a manufacturing process, where I expect the computer science program would have very much more a focus on the programming element, and then associated areas like cybersecurity and networking and all of that.
And Ted, you happy with that?
Yeah, so gonna sum that up really very well. So the instrumentation will be kind of involved in kind of the design and kind of and the maintenance of the systems, and then kind of the programming will be used at a certain level then to kind of facilitate that really.
Then thanks, Ted. And then the next question, how many places for the new digital health course?
Yeah, I just typed in the answer there. There's 25 places in the North Campus in Tralee, County Kerry.
The next one,
Yeah.
I'm interested in animal biosciences.
So the animal bioscience course is delivered on the Kerry campus, and only on the Kerry campus, unfortunately, Sheena. So yeah, it would require you to be on the Kerry campus. I might jump ahead. Sorry, go on. Do you want to do the next one, Brenda? I might jump ahead and just say the career path for the veterinary bioscience, just to link that there for you, that if you come in and do the animal bioscience course after 3 years, you can transfer into the veterinary bioscience course for your level 8 qualification, the animal bioscience being the level 7. The types of careers for the veterinary bioscience, the veterinary bioscientist and the animal bioscientist, their speciality is diagnostics. So there's quite a lot of positions available for them in the areas of animal health. So the companies manufacturing the products or the companies diagnosing the testing. So the state labs, the likes of Chanel, those type of companies making the treatments. The animal bioscientist and veterinary bioscientists have very strong laboratory skills in animal diagnostics. I might keep going, Brendan. There's one there in wildlife biology. The course is marine wildlife covered. Marine wildlife is covered. The marine wildlife is not the main focus of the program, but it is covered. And we do have one lecturer in particular who has very strong focus on marine wildlife and is very capable in that area. If there was a second part to that question, is it just gone? Second part of the question was I think the split in field work and laboratory work was the other part of the question. So as I said, you're out every Thursday. So that is the key point of the wildlife biology graduate, is that they're very ready to hit the ground running when they go into a role. But there is a lot of laboratory work in the program as well, and students do labs in majority of the modules that they do. But I'd strongly encourage any of the participants on tonight to go onto the website, click on the program that you're thinking of, go into view modules and click on the modules in there, and that'll give you a breakdown of how much laboratory work and how much lectures are in each module, and it'll give you an idea of the type of topics and labs specifically that you're doing in each of the modules each year.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. If we want to go back to the question on the nutrition health science in terms of what is covered in biochemistry and biotechnology.
Sure, yes. As I mentioned when we were talking about the chemistry, chemistry in first year devolves to biochemistry in second year of the undergraduate program, and it's a 4-year program, as you know. So with biochemistry, then it'll be split into a couple of different areas. In second year, one is metabolic biochemistry, which, as you can imagine, would be very important for nutrition and health science to understand how metabolic processes work in nutrition and why they're so important. We also talk about structural biochemistry, so that you have an idea of I suppose it ties in well with the anatomy and physiology that you will have done prior to that as well as understanding about different sort of biochemical systems and so on. In terms then of the preparation for what you go on to do with, say, microbial biotechnology in third year, you are then looking at what microbes can engineer for you. I suppose if we think back to biotechnology, sort of creating insulin, for example, for type 1 diabetics, then we're looking at the sort of processes that allow that kind of thing to happen. So when we're talking about biotechnology, we're, I suppose, looking at the versatility of microbes in this case, when we're talking about microbial biotechnology, to generate products that will assist human health. So I hope that gives a small flavour. We get more and more specialised as time goes on, and you get closer and closer to being a very knowledgeable nutritionist by the end of 4th year. So that's what we're doing when we're talking about biochemistry, and we're talking about biotechnology. For example, we're moving towards nutrition communications and nutritional epidemiology and so on, and we're preparing for those things, hopefully in a very interesting way as well.
Good, so thanks, Bridget. And the next one there in veterinary biosciences.
Yeah, so the jobs in veterinary bioscience, I think we touched on them earlier. So both in the it's mainly in diagnostics, laboratory-based programs. So you're looking at the all the companies that are manufacturing treatments for the veterinary sector. Also, then the state labs at the Department of Agriculture. Also, a lot of people go into research. So the likes of Moore Park and a lot of the Chagas centres have a lot of research going on in animal nutrition and animal genetics, and a lot of our graduates go on there for further study as well. I might go into the one on the pharmacy technician as well then. Can a graduate of the pharmacy technician course get into pharmacy course or further study? Absolutely. So we have 1 or 2 students each year out of pharmacy technician that go on to study pharmacy, either in Belfast or in Cork mainly. Some of the courses such as UCC and Queen's have a number of places that they reserve for students that are going on to do pharmacy, having completed pharmacy technician. The details of those are on the university's websites and how to apply for those. At MTU, we have a progression for the pharmacy technicians, and that's a BSc in pharmacy management and practice. And we offer that course both full-time and part-time. So the students can take it as a full-time student or online part-time, but you can get a level 7 course on that as well.
Perfect. And the next question on the biomedical science and the career opportunities outside of Ireland.
Yeah, so I suppose if starting with the 70% of our graduates who automatically go into hospitals and work as medical scientists there, they have a choice of 5 key areas, and there are other splits after that, other specialties as well after that. But essentially, you can make a decision to work in clinical microbiology, or you can, where you're dealing with infection, or you can work in transfusion, where you might be transfusing a patient or cross-matching a patient for blood transfusion, for example, or investigating any transfusion-related incidents that may occur. You might also be diagnosing, for example, metabolic disorders such as the aforementioned, for example, diabetes, just to take an example in biochemistry. You could also go into to hematology, where you might be looking at something like, say, malaria, if you're looking at sort of exotic diseases from overseas, or you might be diagnosing leukemias, for example, or you might be estimating somebody's hemoglobin. So the 5th specialty then would be looking at tissues for evidence of cancer, basically. So people do specialize quite a lot, and most people wish to stay in Ireland, but about 70%, as I said, stay in the profession. As to your question about going abroad, it depends very much on where you want to go. Sometimes no matter how qualified you are, you will end up having to just be, I suppose, accepted as being bona fide to work in a different country. That said, we've had quite a number of graduates who've ended up in the US or in Canada or in Australia. For example, we've also had quite a number of people who've done voluntary work overseas for maybe a number of years all over the world, particularly in parts of Africa, I suppose. So yes, people can travel around. We also have accreditation with an English professional, the Institute of Biomedical Science in the UK, which will automatically allow you to work in the UK, or to work in somewhere like Malta, for example, and places where the IBMS graduates can automatically work overseas. Irish graduates from our program, our joint program, can also do that. So there's quite a number of places to go, but it's very hard to give an overview of all of these different areas. But yes, indeed, people do travel overseas.
And there's a question here as well, Bridget. It's a very broad question now, and I'm kind of challenged time-wise as well. But so any chance of an overview of the nutrition health science course in Cork and the career options after? So in a kind of
Yeah, I suppose I know I'll try to be brief for once, but yeah, I suppose a lot of people become nutritionists. Quite a number of people wish to go into the pharmaceutical industry, where having a nutrition degree can be extremely useful. I suppose quite a number of people go into something like research. Quite a number of people have gone into teaching at second level, for example. So there's a great number of different possibilities that you can do as well. Is there, what else was there now? If we go up again, did I answer that properly?
I think that was it. The next question then is probably yes or no. In MTU Cork, is there transport provided to Clonakilty on the agricultural course in the first year? I can answer that, Bridget. I think the agricultural course is actually delivered out of the Department of Accounting and Information Systems. So it's probably a question that should be targeted at that particular webinar. So if we want to move from there, then and the next one is, there much chemistry in the nutrition health science course?
There is chemistry in first year. There are 2 modules in first year for all of our undergraduate programs, because we would see chemistry as being very important to prepare you to be able to, I suppose, enjoy specializing afterwards and have a very good grounding. So there are 2 modules where you've got 12 modules split equally between the 2 semesters in the year. You'll have 1 chemistry module in first year in first semester, and 1 chemistry module in the second semester in first year. And after that, then you move on to things like biochemistry.
Yeah. So the next 4 questions are, I think it's
The
biomedical.
split, actually, they couldn't hear the answer. Is it? Is that the one?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So the course is split equally between MTU and UCC, and we have a joint board of studies. So all of us lecturers get together, and we make sure that the UCC modules, which are roughly 50% of the modules are delivered more or less together, so that the timetable works, whereby students then are split between one location and the other, but normally they don't have to travel between the two in any one day of the week. Bear in mind as well that we're really only about 3 kilometres apart, so it's not actually very far away. I was on a campus in Dublin a number of years ago, and I was going from one side to the other, and it struck me that it was ever so much easier to get from MTU, allowing for my familiarity with the route between MTU and UCC, than it was to get from one side to the other of that particular Dublin University campus. So it's not as big a challenge as one might think, actually.
With the next core, with the nutrition health science course, is there much chemistry? I think you covered that one, Bridget, didn't you?
So.
Okay, so we just want to move on there. So what course would be best to study if you want to go into clinical research?
Where's that now? If you want to go into clinical research, probably a very good course if you were going to MTU might be any of the undergraduate programs that we have, really. But particularly, I suppose, biomedical science gives you a big advantage when it comes to clinical research, but not always. We've had a graduate of the pharmaceutical biotechnology program who is now, after some clinical research, he's heading up a pharmaceutical company's clinical research team, actually, at the moment. So I suppose it depends on what area of clinical research you want to go into.
So next one, Fiona, you might take any new course for September 2025.
Apologies, my dog is barking there. In relation to the new courses, well, actually the digital health and informatics for healthcare it's on the CAO for September 2025 entry. I think that question was September 2026, was it?
Oh, it is actually.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, but no, the digital health and informatics for healthcare is on the CAO for this September 2025.
And then the next one there is regarding veterinary nursing.
Yeah. So with regards to the veterinary nursing, the career prospects are as a qualified veterinary nurse accredited by the Veterinary Council of Ireland, clinical practices. There's also other areas that you can go into. A lot of veterinary nurses go into sales and other jobs, which are dealing with the practices as well. With the veterinary nursing, you can it is recognised abroad, as is your accreditation. We work with Acavino, which is the UK version of the VCI accreditation as well. We're also currently putting together the level 8. So the level 7 is the current qualification. So you can go on and get a level 8 qualification after completing your first 3 years, and that will further increase your job opportunities as a veterinary nurse outside of the clinical practice of the veterinary nursing.
Very good. And for anyone who maybe missed to have their questions answered tonight, you can email cao@mtu.ie. So that's cao@mtu.ie. Now, I think there's 2 questions there. There's a question next there, Bridget, on biomedical science, if you want to answer that, the next question.
Sure. With regard to do biomedical science students take part in or at any point the course projects or investigations with hospitals or corporations? Yes, definitely. What we have is there is an undergraduate final year research project that's worth a quarter of the final year's marks, and very often people do clinical based. There would be a hospital element to the research that they're doing in 4th year. We also have a year-long placement the year after the biomedical science degree in Cork, where you've got 2 full semesters in a training hospital, and you will take part in training in 5 separate specialty areas that I was talking about. So we're talking about 30-something weeks where you're full-time in the hospital. So definitely, and there are projects involved in that year as well. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so can students go to the Erasmus with your courses? Yeah, I think the Erasmus is open for any program once we have a European partner. And then the final question there maybe, is there maths? What's the maths like in software development and computer systems? So maybe if Anne or Ted wants to answer that question there on the maths requirement for software development and computer systems?
I'll take just from the Kerry perspective, we have one maths module and it's in semester 1. I'm just looking at it here. It's in semester 2 of year 1. Do you need honours maths? No, you don't. And we get asked that question quite a lot. Do you need honours maths? Do you need to be really, really good? You don't need honours maths. Maths is totally different. You just need to be able to think logically and be able to solve problems. So if you can think logically, if you can solve problems, I wouldn't let maths, whether or not you have honours maths, deter you whatsoever. Again, it's computing maths. It's not typically like the maths that you'd be doing in Leaving Cert, but I wouldn't let it frighten you. People seem to get afraid of maths and they think, oh, you have to be fantastic at maths. No, you don't. You have just be able to think logically, be able to approach a problem, break it into smaller parts and solve it. That would be more important than anything else, I think. Ted?
Yes, so it would be exactly the same message in MTU in Cork. There isn't a huge kind of amount of maths involved in the program, and the kind of prerequisite kind of level of maths that you require varies a little bit depending on the program. But if you're looking at the kind of the flagship program, that is MT 800, focused on software development, our maths minimum kind of entry requirement is just an O3 or else a H7. Then if you are focused on our BSc in IT management and cybersecurity, it's either an O6 or H7 requirement then in maths. But again, a similar kind of message that effectively, there isn't a huge amount of maths, and it's certainly not something to kind of put you off. It's very, very manageable.
Thanks, Ted, and a particular thanks to everyone for your interest in the programs. It was really outstanding to see the level of interest in the different programs in MTU across the different campuses. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the panel members for your time tonight. And again, a reminder to everyone that was on the call that if you do have any further query, or you need to learn, or you wish to learn more, please, the email address is mtu.ie/CAO. And if you hit that website, you'll get some more information.
Sorry, Brendan, just before you finish there, can I just mention that the Kerry campus is running a spring open day this Saturday in the North Campus, starting at 10 o'clock, going on till 1. There'll be a number of talks. The first talk, I think, is started around 10:30 on all of the courses, and there'll be a number of workshops and demos as well. So that's in the North Campus this Saturday.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Anne. So excellent. So at this point, okay, we'll say goodnight and thank you very much.